Coach Dan Diesel told me some number of years back. He said, "It doesn't matter where you go, just make sure you go somewhere where you can make a difference." Good day, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Monday Morning Moments with Mark. I hope this finds you well. As you saw in the open this week, we're going to talk about making a difference and why it really matters. But before we do that, we always have to have the funniest thing. And the funniest thing that happened this week is actually very much related to the inspiration for this week's episode. So I attended the graduation at the school I used to work at, Space Coast Junior Senior High School, last week. And originally I wasn't going to go. It's been a few years since I taught there. Felt a little bit maybe disconnected. Wasn't really sure it was my place. But one former student really asked me to go and uh, got me a ticket, so I went. And I showed up just as things were getting started, and they were having it at a stadium. And I walked in and sat down, first available seat I saw, and I thought for a minute to look around, and I wonder if there's anybody here I know. I just wasn't really thinking fully of the people that were going to be there. So I look around, and one section over, sitting at the top of the section with the aisle behind him, was my good buddy, Coach Shannon Washington, and he had one seat open next to him. So I immediately moved over there and tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Excuse me, sir, is anybody using this seat?" And I sat with him, and man, we had a good time enjoying that. And when I saw him, I immediately knew I was in the right place at the right time for the right reason. So it really, that was the funniest thing that happened this week. And really, that whole experience is kind of gave me the inspiration for this episode of this week. Originally, I was going to call it on mattering, but I wanted to make it a little bit more about that, and so I went with on making a difference. And it reminds me of a quote that the great coach and mayor of Titusville, Florida, Coach Dan Diesel told me some number of years back. He said, "It doesn't matter where you go, just make sure you go somewhere where you can make a difference." And that's really stuck with me for a long time. And he told me that as I was getting ready to leave Space Coast, actually. And it really, I want to take a minute to mention that as I'm sitting there listening to the names called at the graduation, and so many of them that I had kind of forgotten that shared a piece of my life, and hopefully I was a piece of theirs at some point in time, and just hadn't thought about it. And then other former students I've mentioned before, Kerry Waddle showed up out of nowhere in uniform, and just kind of surprised me. He surprised his younger sister, who was graduating as well. But being in that environment kind of reminded me of that I mattered at that time, and that part of my life and how much it mattered to me also, and how much it shaped going forward. It truly was a time and place of making a difference, and sometimes you forget what that is. And as life seasons of life come and go, and connecting this back to the things that I've talked about recently about purpose, and just increasing your awareness and things like that. So as those seasons of life come and go, make sure that you're trying to find somewhere where you're going to be able to make a difference, using your purpose to make a difference. And I feel like part of my time there was so meaningful, and why 3 years removed that I still had some kind of connection there, was because I was living, unbeknownst to me at the time, was living in my purpose, and was really making a difference, more so than I guess I realized at the time. And to not make this be about me, I want to share that experience, that those are the kinds of things that we need to seek out. And it doesn't matter if it's on a global scale, you're making a difference in the world, making a difference in your country, or whether you're just making a difference in your community, or even just making a difference in yourself. Just make sure that you're finding yourself in positions where what you're doing matters beyond your own little scope of influence and outside of yourself, because those kinds of things are what it's twofold. One, it's very enriching, and will help you develop a sense of gratitude, um, for the experience, and it will allow you, the second part is it will allow you in the next phase of life or next evolution of whatever you're doing to be more empowered and more capable as you go into the next element of that, and take the good lessons that you learned, take the gratitude that you developed, and the meaningfulness that you had in that moment, and then be able to catapult that into recreating that in the next season. And that's really what the whole point of living on purpose and cyclic success is really all about, is finding yourself in one meaningful situation where you can make a difference that matters to you and to others in that environment, and then taking that good with you into the next thing, and making it equally, if not greater, degree of success. So take a minute this week to take a little bit of time and evaluate the season of life that you're in, the environments that you're finding yourself in, and ask yourself, is what I'm doing here making a difference? Does this matter? Will it matter later? And if the answer is yes, keep doing it to the absolute best of your ability. And if not, either find a way to make it matter or find somewhere else to go make a difference. Have a great week.